والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Continue inshallah ta'ala from Kitab Sahih Imam Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala, from Kitab Al-I'tisam bil-Kitab wa-Sunnah, the book of Al-I'tisam bil-Kitab wa-Sunnah, the hold fast to the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. And with chapter 7 within this book, باب ما يذكر من ذم الرأي وتكلف القياس ولا تقف لا تقل ما ليس لك به علم. Which means the title of the chapter, what has been mentioned with regards to condemning al-Ra'i. Al-Ra'i is opinion. وتكلف القياس, to go out of one's way to make qiyas or analogy. And then he mentioned two parts of two verses, وَلَا تَقُفُوا, which is part of the ayah, وَلَا تَقُفُوا مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ. Do not say without knowledge. And he says the meaning of it, لَا تَقُل. The ayah means, do not say what you don't have knowledge of. And the other ayah, the end of the ayah, مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ, the same ayah, مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٍ, what you don't have knowledge of. So what does that mean is, since we're talking about holding fast to the Quran and the Sunnah, which is the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, opinions, it has to be based on the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if the matter has been already decreed in the Quran or in the Sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, that means the matter is over. There is no room for opinions if the matter has already been decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the wahy. It's only valid if the matter is not decreed, that the text itself can mean more than one thing, that one text is authenticated to some and not to others, and that's why there is differences of opinions among the ulama, which is valid. So then if the text or the evidence or the wahy is not there, then definitely the ulama, one of the principles of extracting rulings is al-qiyas, of course, analogy. And al-qiyas, which is a subject of usul fiqh, it needs for a person to be studying the deen, in the path of studying the deen, to understand it and to comprehend it. This is a different subject, but what's condemned here is what people, basically what he's saying, to put aside the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and just to take the matters with their opinions. What do you think of this matter? I think this way, you think this way, and that's it. And then we put, people put the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ aside, and this is basically what he means. Then he mentioned the first hadith, يقول حدثنا سعيد بن تليد قال حدثني ابن وهب قال حدثني عبد الرحمن بن شريح وغيره عن أبي الأسود عن عروة قال حج علينا عبد الله بن عمرو فسمعته يقول. Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, one of the great ulama of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, son of Amr ibn al-As, and he was one of the, again, the ulama of the Sahaba. He was one of the scholars among the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. He passed by them, he came to them, as he's saying, Urwa ibn Zubayr. يقول سمعت, then Abdullah ibn Amr was saying, سمعت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول, I heard the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم saying, إن الله لا ينزع العلم بعد أن أعطاكموه انتزاعا, which means indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala لا ينزع العلم. ينزع, علم is knowledge. لا ينزع العلم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not take away the ilm. And in naz'a is when something is being snatched by force. Right? Not just taken away slightly. Something to be taken away with being uprooted. There's nothing left whatsoever. And this is when the word is used when a person is dying. They say he fil naz'a, meaning that he is in the last breath, the soul will be taken out and nothing of the soul will remain. So the word is used, إن الله لا ينزع العلم بعد أن أعطاكموه انتزاعا. Right? That means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not take the ilm, the knowledge, after He gave it to you. بعد أن أعطاكموه. After He gave you the ilm, انتزاعا, right? It's repeated here. That means it's something that would never be done like this, to be snatched, to be taken away like this. All of a sudden, people would wake up one morning and there's no ilm. There's no wahy anymore. There's no Quran. There's no Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, except in the very last thing, after all the major signs of the hour, after the descent of Isa alayhi salam, and after Isa alayhi salam will die, and after the believers, all of them, a wind will come and take their souls, and then the hour will be established on only disbelievers. This is the time when the Quran will be lifted. But this is at the very, very end, just before the hour. But as the Prophet ﷺ said, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not take the ilm away from you after He gave it to you. وَلَكِنْ يَنْتَزِعُهُ مِنْهُمْ مَعَ قَبْضِ الْعُلَمَاءِ بِعِلْمِهِ. But instead, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take the ilm from the people? يَنْتَزِعُهُ مِنْهُمْ. But instead, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take the ilm from them مَعَ قَبْضِ الْعُلَمَاءِ بِعِلْمِهِ. When the ulama, they are taken away to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the death. Qabd means by taking the souls of the ulama, by the death of the ulama with their ilm. What makes the alim alim is by the knowledge that he has. And the death of alim is a calamity, because when the alim dies, the ilm of this alim dies with him. Our ilm is not in the books, otherwise we are living in a time when there was nothing the like of it before. Not just books, we have it in something very small. You can have thousands and thousands of books. That does not make the ilm. The ilm is not just books. The ilm needs human beings. So these human beings, these ulama that have the knowledge, and as we heard before and as we agreed before, that the alim, the scholar of the deen, is not the one that has the most information. It's not like in the secular world, if a person is a PhD in something, then he is the scholar in this particular knowledge, right? And then after he finishes his work in the university, for example, and his research and everything, he goes home and he eats and drinks and he has his own personal life, and then he works from, this is in that life. But in the matters of the deen, the alim is the one that has the knowledge and he applies this knowledge in his life. The most among the people that imitates the Prophet ﷺ. The best, the most among the people that you would see him having the knowledge, and as a result of that, he's applying this knowledge. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, "Ulama warathatul anbiya." The ulama are the inheritors of the prophets. So the alim cannot be something other than the most among the people that imitates the Prophet ﷺ, because he has this knowledge. And that's why we need to really, this is very important. Why? Because we need to make sure that we know the ulama. We need to make sure that we don't say that anybody that has any form of knowledge, he becomes a alim, or anyone that can speak to the people, he becomes a alim, or anybody that can entertain the people with matters of deen, stories and things like that, he becomes a alim. This is one of the miseries that we're living nowadays. Outside appearance, inside speech, actions, and with amount of knowledge that the person would spend his life in knowledge, not part-time type of thing. As they say, al-ilm has to have a tabattul. A tabattul is when the person is secluded from it. This is his life. He's sitting, standing, living. It's all about the ilm, about the knowledge of the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So anyway, so the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take away the knowledge from the people is by the death of the ulama. So as a result of that, before we go further, the death of the alim is a musibah, it's a calamity. We have to see that, because ilm dies with him, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful. This ummah, this nation of the Prophet ﷺ is a mercy, that mercy is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on them. It always brings the ulama, the good people, inshallah ta'ala, by the will of Allah. But it's a bad sign when the ulama dies, and there's not much of the ulama present because of the lack or the less of knowledge. Why? Because after that the Prophet ﷺ said, فَيَبْقَ نَاسٌ جُهَّالٌ يُسْتَفْتَوْنَ فَيُفْتُونَ بِرَأْيِهِمْ. فَيَبْقَ, that means then whoever is left, نَاسٌ جُهَّالٌ, people that are juhal, ignorant, don't have knowledge. The opposite of knowledge is jahl. is ignorance. They don't have knowledge. Yustaftawna, that means they are asked for fatwa. People will ask them because people, they have to ask. There is salah, there is marriage, there is buying and selling, there is life. They have to ask what is the ruling. How can we live our life without asking about matters of deen? So they will ask, فَيُفْتَوْنَ بِرَأْيِهِمْ. And this is why the hadith is here. فَيُفْتَوْنَ, they will be given the fatwa بِرَأْيِهِمْ, by their opinion, by what they think, not based on the ilm, not based on the knowledge, but based on what they think. بِرَأْيِهِمْ. فَيُضِلُّونَ وَيُضِلُّونَ. So as a result of that, they will be deviated because they committed this major sin, and they would cause others to deviate. They don't have knowledge, right? So again, the ra'i here that is condemned is not the ra'i or the opinions of the ulama when they say there is differences of opinions. No. The ra'i of these a'imma of this deen was based on ilm, based on the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. What is condemned here is the ra'i that is not based on the wahy, is based on their opinions and their desires when there is lack of knowledge. يقول فحدثت به عائشة زوج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. So he said, I mentioned that to Aisha radiallahu anha, the wife of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. Then ثم إن عبد الله بن عمرو حج بعد. Then after that he made Hajj. فقالت, then Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, يا ابن أختي انطلق إلى عبد الله فاستثبت لي منه الذي حدثتني عنه. She said, يا ابن أختي, oh my nephew, the son of my sister. Who she's talking to? To Urwa. Urwa ibn Zubayr. His mother is Asma, is Abi Bakr, the sister of Aisha radiallahu anha. So she said to him, and Urwa, that's why he has a lot of hadith from Aisha radiallahu anha, because she is his aunt. So he used to go to her all the time after the Prophet ﷺ, and he gained a lot of knowledge from her. So many of the hadith he would find Urwa narrating it from Aisha radiallahu anha. So she said to her nephew, go to Abdullah ibn Amr, فَاسْتَثْبِتْ لِي مِنْهُ. Make sure that what you told me is correct. Just authenticate it more. Let him say it again to make sure that it's perfectly correct. يقول فجئته فسألته فحدثني به كنحو ما حدثني. He said, I went to him and I asked him, and حدثني, then he narrated to me exactly to what he had told me before. فأتيت عائشة فأخبرتها. I came to Aisha رضي الله عنها and informed her. فعجبت فقالت والله لقد حفظ عبد الله بن عمرو. She was amazed and she said, Wallahi, Abdullah ibn Amr really memorized the matter, right? Something that she didn't hear رضي الله عنها. Nobody can claim that they heard everything from the Prophet ﷺ. And that's why, again, one of the reasons why they sometimes will have differences of opinions, because in a matter they didn't hear anything about it from the Prophet ﷺ, and they have to give a verdict. But then when others heard, once that reaches them, the matter is over. They would follow what they would authenticate that this was from the Prophet ﷺ. So this is a very important hadith. It came with different wordings, with some changes of words from different narrations, but it's one of the signs of the hour. It shows the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how the ilm is taken away from the people. Shows that it's important for us when we see that we're living in a time when there's not too many of the ulama. Again, we're not talking about people that have some knowledge. The alim is the one that spent his life in learning the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and usually he is someone that reached an old age and he has the taqwa, the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so on. And when we see that is present, that means there is a job that we have to do, and it's in many times it's a community job, that the brightest among the communities and those who they show dedication in matters of the deen, and they are the brightest, they should be really taken to study the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to benefit themselves, not only, but to benefit their communities, because the benefits are extended to others. And if you look at what is the most important need and benefit that communities will need, more than any physical benefit. In any community, if there is no doctors in the city or the county of St. Louis, people will panic, they'll be terrified. Why? Because there's no specialty, in whatever specialty, there's no doctor there. And they would bring doctors from any place in the world and they would give citizenship the next day. to make sure that he's present, right? Who's more important? A doctor that can or cannot, everything is by the will of Allah, save the life of the people, or someone that would really be the mean of guidance for the everlasting happiness of the people? And that's why the importance of ilm is something, it's extremely important. It's one of the sad things that when people think, okay, we're making salah, we're making wudu, what is the importance of knowledge? We're all knowledgeable about matters of the deen. This is definitely a sign of ignorance. The more the person learns, the more he will humble himself to the ilm, to the knowledge. And we should not say in the deen of Allah with our opinions. We should learn first before we say things. And it's not enough to love the deen. It's not enough to be righteous and pious person. It's not enough to be praying at night prayer and the obligatory prayer in the masjid and giving charity and making dhikr and so on. Once a person is like this, he should not think that it's time for me to give fatwa of matters of the deen. It doesn't work this way. This is whatever he's doing, this is great, mashallah, but he has to spend the time to learn the deen of Allah from the people of knowledge, from this lineage that goes all the way to the Prophet ﷺ. And the alim, the same way the alim before him, he gave him the ijazah or the license. It's not a license like a normal license, but he will tell him, then you are ready to spread this knowledge. Then this is where the alim will spread the knowledge from one generation to the other, and this is how the ulama are known. The next hadith, he says, حدثنا عبدان قال أخبرنا أبو حمزة قال سمعت الأعمش قال سألت أبا وائل. He said, I asked Abu Wa'il, Sheikh ibn Salam, هل شهدت صفين? Did you witness, were you present in the battle of Siffin at the time of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, this fitna, this battle that was Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, and on the side that Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, the non-intended battle that happened by the acts of the hypocrites and so on. He said, نعم, قال نعم, I was there. يقول فسمعت سهل بن حنيف يقول, I heard Sahl ibn Hunayf saying, then you would say, but then there's a hat, there's a junction in the sanad, in the chain of narration. He says, وحدثنا موسى بن إسماعيل قال حدثنا أبو عوانة عن الأعمش عن أبي وائل. Again, another chain that means that أبي وائل. قال سهل بن حنيف. Sahl ibn Hunayf, one of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, he would say something. Sahl ibn Hunayf, he is one of the companions that was with the Prophet ﷺ all his battles, from Badr till the end. Someone that fought with the Prophet ﷺ, sacrificed in all of his life with the Prophet ﷺ, and he was, when the Prophet ﷺ migrated to Al-Medina, he was from the Medina, from the Ansar. He was made the brother of Ali ibn Abi Talib, right? So they were always together, even at the Battle of Siffin. He's been always with Ali ibn Abi Talib all of his life, to the extent of which they used to compete. Of course, Ali ibn Abi Talib is one of the best of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, but with matters of good deeds, they used to compete. Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, he, as Umar radiallahu anhu did to Abu Bakr, when he would miss Abu Bakr at a certain time of the day, and what is he doing? And he saw him going to help this old lady. The same thing, Ali radiallahu anhu, he witnessed that Sahl ibn Hunayf, he is not present at a certain time. So he wanted to see what he's doing so that he does not miss something of what is good. He was also going to help someone. He would have something with him, and a woman would come out of her house, and he would give her something, and he would leave. And then, he went and asked him, what are you doing? And why you're going to this lady? And she comes out. He does not enter inside. He just waits. She comes out, and she takes whatever he brings for her, and she goes in there again. And this was a very interesting thing. He was not giving her food or anything of that nature. He went and he broke some idol, and he was bringing the remnant or whatever is left, so that he hides, people don't get to know him. So he would give it to this woman to use it for burning and hatab and things like this, right? Because she does not have any family or anything, so she was conspiring with him on taking care of this evil that was there. So anyway, this is Sahl ibn Hunayf. He said, رضي الله عنه, يا أيها الناس اتهموا رأيكم على دينكم. And I didn't spend time to to see what the best way to translate this. He said, Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, ittahimu ra'yakum, accuse your ra'y, your opinion, ala dinikum, over your religion. Accuse your opinion over your religion. That means follow the religion. If you have an opinion, and your opinion is opposite to what's in the religion, accuse your opinion. Your opinion is wrong. Even if you are the smartest man on earth, right? اتهموا رأيكم على دينكم. And this statement of Sahl ibn Hanayf became a very famous statement that we should memorize actually. And always remember it for ourselves and also for those who would put their opinions before the deen of Allah. اتهموا رأيكم على دينكم. Accuse your opinion over your religion. Then he said, لقد رأيتني يوم أبي جندل ولو أستطيع أن أرد أمر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عليه لرددته. He said, لقد رأيتني. I said, I saw myself in the day of Abi Jandal. And we'll talk what is the day of Abi Jandal. ولو أستطيع, if I was able to reject, see this statement, if I was able to reject the order of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم on that day, I would have rejected it. And he says, وَمَا وَضَعْنَا سُيُوفَنَا عَلَى عَوَاتِقِنَا إِلَى أَمْرٍ يُفْضِعُنَا إِلَّا أَسْهَلَنَّا بِنَا إِلَى أَمْرٍ نَعْرِفُهُ غَيْرَ هَذَا الْأَمْرِ. And we did not put our swords on our shoulders to matter that was so big and heavy burden on us, that is something that is more easy to us more than this matter. So they faced a very difficult matter, he's saying, that if I had the opportunity, if there was any case that I would reject the order of the Prophet ﷺ, I would have done it on that day. And that's why he's saying to them, because later he regretted that he had that feeling then. And that's why he's saying to the people, accuse your opinion over your deen. What is the day of Abi Jandal? This is the day when in Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, in the day of the Treaty of al-Hudaybiyah, when the Prophet ﷺ, and if really focus on this and put yourself in that position. These companions of the Prophet ﷺ, after years of battle, and among them those who migrated from Mecca to Al-Medina, and what suffering they went through in Mecca, and the torture that they received from the people of Mecca, and they were patient, and they migrated to Al-Medina, and the people of Al-Medina helped them, and they fought the battle one after another with the Prophet ﷺ, and the Arab, when the disbelievers came to them from all places, trying to kill them all, right, with no mercy whatsoever. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them victory, one battle after another. And then the moment comes where the Prophet ﷺ gave them the great news that they're going to make Umrah in Mecca, right? And they were going, and this was in the month of the Qa'dah that we are witnessing now. So imagine the joy that they have. They're going to the best place ever. Finally, they get to go to Mecca. And they're going to make Umrah with the Prophet ﷺ. And then on the way, when the disbelievers, they came in the place of Al-Hudaybiyah, and they refused to let them in, and the companions that are willing to fight. And they know that if they fight by the will of Allah, they will destroy them, right? They will win by the will of Allah. And they're willing to fight and die for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is nothing compared to what they've been going through. These people, they reach a level where their souls, that they're carrying it on their hands, as they say. They don't care about nothing whatsoever. Anything about the deen of Allah, they're willing to do. And then the Prophet ﷺ accepted the conditions of the disbelievers in the treaty, that for anyone that doesn't know that this is wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he would see it as it's so much unjust to the Muslims, and it's giving so much to disbelievers when they are disbelievers. They don't deserve this whatsoever. And this is one of these conditions is that, first of all, they don't go for Umrah this year, they have to go back. Then they come the next year. So this is a very huge setback for them. And if anyone from among the believers, he renegates and he becomes a disbeliever and he goes to the people of Makkah, that's fine. Then the people of Makkah, they keep him. But on the other hand, if one of the disbelievers, he becomes a Muslim, and he runs and he flees to the Muslims, the Prophet ﷺ has to return it back to the people of Quraysh. He has to return that Muslim back to the people of Quraysh to be a fitna for his religion, to kill him maybe, to torture him, to make him renegade of the deen. This is not something easy or simple. And the Prophet ﷺ agreed to all of these conditions. Umar radiallahu anhu, if you know that there's many situations to this, but Umar radiallahu anhu, he was so upset, not for his own benefit, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he went to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, Ya Rasulullah, alasna al-haq? Aren't you on the truth? He said, yes. Aren't you Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? He said, yes. He said, are they on the batil, on the falsehood? He said, yes. He said, why then? لِمَا نَغْضَ الدَّنِيَّةَ فِي دِينِنَا? Why are we taking the lower hand in our religion? Why should we be humiliated when we have the upper hand? Right? And the Prophet ﷺ would keep telling him that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give me victory. And he went to Abu Bakr and he told him, he repeated the same thing. Abu Bakr was different. He said, this is Rasulullah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is revealing to him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him victory. This was a victory. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called this fath, called the treaty is fath. Why? Because once they were returning and the situation was very tense, that the Prophet ﷺ ordered the Sahaba radiallahu anhum to shave their heads and to take their ihram. This is the case when you cannot go to Mecca after you become in the state of al-ihram. This is al-muhsar. This is the one that is not able to make hajj or umrah. Then he has to shave and to take his ihram and so on. And this was very difficult for them. That's what he said. And they said in another narrations, it was easier for them to bleed than to shave their heads at that situation. So when he told them ﷺ to shave their heads, they couldn't do it from the first instant, something very difficult for them. And when the Prophet ﷺ entered his tent, and Salama radiallahu anha, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, she told him, and he was upset ﷺ that they didn't do it. She told him, you go out, O Prophet of Allah, and you shave your head in front of them, and they would follow you. So the Prophet ﷺ came out, and he shaved his head, and they immediately did that. The Prophet ﷺ is doing it, but it was something so difficult for them. So imagine the state of mind and how they were broken hearts at this moment. And while the Prophet ﷺ is dealing with the disbelievers, he was dealing with Suhail ibn Amr from the disbelievers. Right? He later became a Muslim, but he was dealing with him. And their condition after another, and the conditions and how it's being said, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, don't put ar-Rahman, because they did not believe in that name. And the Prophet ﷺ would agree, Bismika Allahum. From Muhammad Rasulullah, don't put Rasulullah. If you are Rasulullah, we will follow you. And the Prophet ﷺ would agree, and would ask the companion to remove Rasulullah. And this is, to a companion of the Prophet ﷺ, is more difficult than you kill him, right? And the Prophet ﷺ agreeing to this. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, again after they left, Surah Al-Fath was revealed, إِنَّ فَتَحْنَا لَكَ فَتْحًا مُبِينًا. This was Fath. And it showed so much how this was a Fath, that the amount of people that entered into the fold of Islam in that 1 year surpassed all the numbers before. Because when there was security, people secured for their life, they can travel now. There's no fear, there's no wars. People started, and the da'wah spread, and the Prophet ﷺ sent with matters of da'wah everywhere. People came into the fold of Islam in masses. And all the matter within, before the year even, the matter was over. So anyway, so who's Abu Jandal? The son of Suhail ibn Amr, the disbeliever, the leader of the disbeliever that was sitting making the contract from the Prophet ﷺ, his son, while they were sitting, coming from Mecca, with his chains on his leg, he fled. Right? He was a disbeliever and he became a Muslim. And he fled and he finally made it to Al-Madinah, happy to be with the Muslims. And Suhail ibn Amr, he said, this is the first one that I will start with. There's no treaty unless I take my son back. And what did his son say? He said to the people, Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, I'm a Muslim. How can you give me back to the kuffar? سَيَفْتِنُونَنِي عَنْ دِينِي. They will take me out of my religion. Right? And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, we do not break our treaty. He has to go back. Right? You imagine a situation like this. And this is what Sahel ibn Hunayf is saying when he said to the people, accuse your opinion, would you ever think what would if a person is present in that situation, what his opinion would be? Would the opinion be, go back to your people? Or people would say, we sacrifice our life for this. We have to protect our Muslim brother. How can we let him go to the disbelievers and they will take him away from his religion and so on? And we have the strength, we have the power. We have Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with us. We have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this was the matter is decreed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to the Prophet alayhi wasallam. So then we would get an idea what Sahl ibn Hunayf is saying. He said, you should have seen me on the day of Abi Jandal. And if I had any chance to reject the order of the Prophet ﷺ, I would have done it that day. Why? Because of what he saw. He thought this is so unjust to return him back to the disbelievers. Right? But then what happened to Abi Jandal? He returned with them, yes, but he fled again. And he went, not come back to the Prophet ﷺ, he went by the sea. And he met another, and every time anybody became a Muslim, they didn't go to the Prophet ﷺ. They fled from the disbelievers, then they went close to the Red Sea, and they would abuse the disbelievers when they're traveling, till they went to the Prophet ﷺ, and they told him, please, take these people. There are so much, with the long story of Sulh Hudaybiyah. Right? But the point here is, this is what he's saying, you should have seen me on that day. And the same thing Umar radiallahu anhu regretted what he said to the Prophet ﷺ, but all of these things are forgiven. Why? Because of the concern of the deen. They were not doing that against the deen, but the total opposite being having the concern of the deen. And this was a great lesson for them, that they would follow the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if they think that this is maybe not the best in matters of the deen. So that means those who might oppose the wahy, the revelation from Allah, it doesn't have to be only in matters of sins. Right? People, they want to have an easy way in their life, so they would make what is haram halal. So they would take their opinions. Well, what's wrong with dealing with riba? This is the economy that we accepted, and this is everywhere in the world, and there's much benefits in it, and so on. So they would take their opinions, and they would say, no, actually the riba, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, was the picture of this evil man is trying to take advantage of the poor people by giving them loans and waiting for the riba and the usury and so on. Now the matter is different. These institutions, they are helping people actually, and all of these false statements, right? So they would use their opinions and they oppose the wahy. Actually, even that statement, and what people say, is totally wrong. There's no such a thing at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. The Arab, they would never have someone that is needy and they would not help him, even in times of Jahiliyyah. They were famous for being generous. If somebody is hungry, if somebody is in need, they would take from their own necessities and they would give it to them. Their loans in Jahiliyyah was nothing but trade, nothing but for business. Rihlat al-Shita'i wal-Sayf, going to Sham and Yemen. This is where they do riba and usury, right? Because this shubha, this doubtful matter, they spread so much, right? That what is haram in riba is that if you're using the needs of the people. No, riba is riba. It doesn't matter using or not using, trade or not trade. It's haram, and a person has to be patient with the orders of Allah. So it's not just in the matters of sins. No, a person can use his opinions when he really has the concern of the deen. He sees, for example, what's happening to the Muslims, and he wants to act based on his opinion. And he thinks that he is right because he is giving victory to the deen. Right? Shaitan is working. Away from the people of knowledge, people can do disastrous things. Not to themselves only, but to the benefit of the deen. Right? The concern is the deen. It's not the concern of this person or that person. The life of the Muslim is cheap when it comes to the deen of Allah. The deen of Allah, to be superior, life has no meaning to it. There's no value to it. But it's not about lives, it's about the deen and the benefit of the deen. And that's why people that are in need of people of knowledge, in the fitan that we live and we witness, right? People might hear, oh, this group or these people are doing one thing or the other, let me just go with them and let me follow them. And then disaster happens and people will be accused that they are betraying the deen if they don't help with this or that. People need to refer to the people of knowledge and to have the patience And if there's no people of knowledge, and a person claims that there's no people of knowledge, then a person should isolate himself from everyone and just worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala till the matter becomes clear to him. But to make their own opinions and to make their own decisions away from knowledge, this is definitely a very dangerous thing. And how many of those who are young and youth, they, out of the love of the deen, they do things that is against the deen, based on this. And also those who would follow their desires. He says, وَقَالَ أَبْوَالٍ شَهِدْتُ صِفِّينَ وَبِئْسَتْ صِفُّونَ. He said, I witnessed Siffin and how bad it was, this battle of Siffin, when this was the fitna among the companions of the Prophet. It's a very important one, definitely. And it needs to be really dealt with so much focus. And we need to, nowadays it's, people act based on, not the ulama, but based on the news. Something comes in the news, then they act according to what's in the news. Whatever action, it doesn't matter what action is. This is not how we act. We act based on the deen. And if we don't know the deen, then we ask the people of knowledge. Right? We don't act based on what we hear in the news. And then we get emotional, and then we do things. Whether it's legally or illegally, it doesn't matter. Right? If we make a move based on emotions, this is what opinions. Even if your emotions is with the deen, even if you love the deen so much, it doesn't matter. It has to be based on ilm, based on knowledge. And the example of Sulh al-Hudaybiyah is a clear example in this. That the Prophet ﷺ was looking forward, and again by the wahy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the great benefit that this matter came about. Especially when the plots of the disbelievers is something that beyond the imagination of the believers. That's why we need to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all of our affairs. We'll go to the next chapter, inshallah ta'ala. But again, we need to remember اتهموا رأيكم على دينكم, that accuse your opinion over your religion. Right? Do we need to mention examples, or the matter is clear? Anytime there is opinions, it makes sense this way, it looks good this way, it feels good this way, but the deen of Allah is the other way, then there is no feeling good or looks good or whatever. We follow the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In our masajid, in our lives, in anything. يقول باب ما كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يسأل مما لم ينزل عليه الوحي فيقول لا أدري. The chapter where the Prophet ﷺ, he would be asked about something that the wahy did not come down on him with. And he would say لا أدري. He would say I do not know. Prophet ﷺ would say لا أدري, I do not know. أو لم يجب حتى ينزل عليه الوحي. Or the Prophet ﷺ would not answer till the wahy comes down. وَلَمْ يَقُلْ بِرَأْيٍ وَلَا قِيَاسٍ. The Prophet ﷺ did not say his opinion, or he did not make his own qiyas and his own analogy. By the way, again, Imam Bukhari, rahimahullah, he does not deny al-qiyas. Right? The qiyas, this is one of the ways to extract the rulings. But he's denying the false qiyas that is not based on the proper knowledge and so on. لِقَوْلِهِ تَعَالَى بِمَا أَرَاكَ اللَّهِ. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the Prophet ﷺ, you only rule by what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed you. وقال ابن مسعود سئل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن الروح فسكت حتى نزلت الآية. And we had this hadith before that Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he said, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was asked about al-ruh, the soul. He was quiet alayhi salatu wasalam till the ayah came down and did not rush into giving an answer. And this is something definitely how the followers of the Prophet ﷺ, if they don't have the knowledge, they should be quiet, but they should say, La adri, Allahu a'lam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, or they will ask and they will get back with them, but never to say with one's opinions. And as they say that Allahu a'lam is half of the knowledge, is to say Allah knows best. Right? And as they say also, if the alim does not teach his students this beautiful word, Allahu a'lam, that means he's not a good alim. If they don't see him saying it a lot, that means there's something wrong with him. And for people, they would think that the person is not alim, that if he does not answer some of the questions, If he says, لا أدري, this should be a good enough answer. لا أدري, I do not know. Then what should we do? I do not know. Right? Allah, maybe he will ask for you. Yes, sure, no problem. But that should be enough answer. Right? And this is half of the knowledge. Otherwise, as Ibn Sirin rahimahullah, he said, whoever answers every question, فهو مجنون. Whoever answers every question, he's majnun, he's insane. Right? And you remember the incident that we mentioned many times before, when Imam Malik rahimahullah, when a man came to him with like 40 questions, out of the 40 questions, maybe he answered 4 or 5 or less than 10. And the rest he said, I do not know, I do not know. Right? And the man said, he came to him all the way from Yemen. He said, what do I say to the people? I go back to the Yemen, what do I say? He said, go to a very high place in Yemen and tell the people I went to Imam Malik and I asked him, and he said, and he said, I do not know. This is how simple the matter is. Right? So this is definitely part of our deen, is to say that, to have the courage to say it. It's a good sign, not the opposite. So the hadith, حدثنا يقول حدثنا علي بن عبد الله قال حدثنا سفيان قال سمعت ابن المنكدر يقول سمعت جابر بن عبد الله يقول مرضت جابر بن عبد الله رضي الله عنه said مرضت فجاءني رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يعودني وأبو بكر وهما ماشيان. I was sick. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم came to me, يعودني, to visit me, him and Abu Bakr رضي الله عنه, وهما ماشيان, while they were walking. They came to me walking. فأتاني وقد أغمي عليه. He came to me while I passed away. He was أغمي عليه, that means he not passed away, died, but unconscious. He was unconscious at the time. فتوضأ رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ثم صب وضوءه عليه. The Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام made wudu, then he poured his wudu with the fatha, the water that he made wudu with, he poured it on me. فأفقت, so I was made awake. I was awake. فقلت يا رسول الله, وربما قال سفيان, he said, O Messenger of Allah. And Sufyan, the narrator of the hadith, he says, maybe he said, he was not sure what exactly he said, maybe he said, أي رسول الله كيف أقضي في مالي? O Messenger of Allah, how should I distribute my wealth? What is the ruling with regards to my wealth? Because if he dies, what should he do with his wealth? And then definitely this is a valid question. And mirath, and what to do with the wealth and the distribution of it, with inheritance and the laws of inheritance and the will. These are rulings that has to be taught or to ask the people of knowledge, and a person should have a living will, especially when he has wealth and so on, and rights. He says, كيف أصنع في مالي? What should I do with my money? The Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام قال فما أجابني بشيء حتى نزلت آية الميراث. He did not respond to me with anything till the verses of al-mirath, of inheritance, were revealed to the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام. So that's why the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ did not answer. Right? He waited, and the wahy came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with regards to the verses of al-mirath with the inheritance. Of course, as we see that al-mal, or the wealth in Islam, this is one of the duties that we will be asked about in the Day of Judgment. It's not something filth, it's not something bad, it's something that is good. It depends on the person how he would use it in his life. It's part of the deen. Money is part of the deen. That's why there are many verses in the Quran that talks about money and transactions. So a person, when he earns it from halal and he disposes it in halal, and whatever we leave behind can be either a reason for the person to enter Jannah or to enter the hellfire. And a person can live all of his entire life as righteous and steadfast, and then one wrongdoing in committing injustice in his will can be the reason for him to enter the hellfire. So the person has to be careful and to make sure that he care about it and not say, I don't care, whatever happens, happens. So because there's orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has to be observed with the will, with the laws of inheritance, and if it's not applied and enforced in the environment that we live in, then we have to include it in our will so that there's no rooms for any abuse to one's wealth if a person dies. And then he says, باب تعليم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أمته من الرجال والنساء مما علمه الله ليس برأي ولا تمثيل. The chapter تعليم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أمته. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم teaching his ummah from among the men and women what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught him ليس برأي ولا تمثيل, without opinion or تمثيل. It's another word of something like al-qiyas, something the like of another incident. The Prophet ﷺ would wait for the wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, al-qiyas. If there is wahi, there is no qiyas. And none of the ulama would ever say the qiyas is valid when there is a verse or a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that decree the matter clearly. Right? The qiyas is only when the matter is not, the evidence is not there, or the evidence is not clear, and so on, then the qiyas comes in place. He says, حدثنا مسدد قال حدثنا أبو عوان عن عبد الرحمن بن الأصبهاني عن أبي صالح ذكوان عن أبي سعيد قال جاءت امرأة إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. A woman came to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم فقالت يا رسول الله, O Messenger of Allah, ذهب الرجال بحديثك. Men, ذهب, what's ذهب means? They took off, they left. So literally she's saying the men took off with your hadith. That means they were exclusively you gave them the hadith. They benefited from your hadith and we have no share of it whatsoever. It become all to men. You speak to the men and there is nothing for us, for the women. فَاجْعَلْ لَنَا مِنْ نَفْسِكَ يَوْمًا نَأْتِيكَ فِيهِ تُعَلِّمُنَا مِمَّا عَلَّمَكَ اللَّهُ. She said, give to us from yourself a day, we will come to you, you will teach us from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught you. Right? And you see the fiqh and the knowledge of this woman. She's eager to learn, that's why knowledge, there's no difference between men and women when it comes to the knowledge of the deen. Right? And that's why Aisha radiallahu anha, for example, she was very knowledgeable. And the companions radiallahu anha that would come and learn from her. And women, definitely like men, they should learn the deen. And she did not say to him, O Prophet of Allah, we want to sit with them for us to learn or to teach us the deen. Right? She said, فَاجْعَلْ لَنَا مِنْ نَفْسِكَ يَوْمًا. Give us from yourself a day that we will come to you. She understood clearly that the men and women in Islam, they don't sit together to learn the best thing ever, which is the deen of Islam. That they have to be separated. Right? This is again something that either a person would take his ra'i, his opinion, or the way of the Prophet ﷺ that was practiced at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And this is again one of the things that Muslims in many places are afflicted with this fitna. Why? Because their workplace is mixed, their homes when they invite friends and families are mixed, and then, well, why the masjid is not mixed? When the masjid is the purest place, and people coming for salah, they're not coming for some evil thoughts. So what's the matter with having, people to be at ease with one another and they can learn the deen like this? Then definitely this is evil. Because if there are other places there is evil, then we should not bring the evil to our masjid. And the masjid should be like the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ. And you see even from the question itself, how the question of the woman was to the Prophet ﷺ. And he said to her, اجتمعنا في يوم كذا وكذا في مكان كذا وكذا. He said, اجتمعنا, get together, make اجتماع, right, for the women. Get together on that day, such and such day, in that specific place. So, to be away again from the men. Why did the Prophet ﷺ, for example, say, well, come while I'm teaching the men and sit in the back? Right? The back was in the same place. The Prophet ﷺ, when he would finish the salah, as the hadith of Anas radiallahu anhu, that he would stay for a little bit facing the Qibla. He said, we used to think, so that whenever he turns, ﷺ, his eyes does not fall onto the women, those who are sitting in the back. Because once they finish the salah, they would pray with the men, because it's always the same thing brought over and over again. While the women, they used to pray in the end of the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ did not forbid them from coming from the masjid. Yes, of course, they were praying at the end. There was no barrier between them and the men. Of course there was no barrier between them and the men. But what type of hijab that they were wearing. And the other thing is, once the salah is finished, they don't sit and make tasbih. They would leave immediately, right after the salah. so that by the time the Prophet ﷺ turned, they're all gone. So then when there's a dars, the Prophet ﷺ will be facing them like that? No. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ ordered them to be in a specific place, and he would come to them and he would teach them that. So in a situation where we have the masajid now where the men cannot see the women in the lectures like we're having here, then no problem to have the lectures both from men and women, because the fitna is not present there. So this is definitely no problem whatsoever. But sometimes the women, they would like to have a special dars for them. They have their own issues, their own questions and so on, which is definitely also important to have. So فاجتمعنا فأتاهن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فعلمهن مما علمه الله. They got together and the Prophet ﷺ came to them and he taught them from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught him. This is why the hadith is there. He did not teach them from his own self. He taught them from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught him. ثم قال, then he said, ما من كن امرأة تقدم بين يديها من ولدها ثلاثة إلا كان لها حجابا من النار. None of you, no woman among you, would تقدم بين يديها. That means she sent forward before her three from her children, three, unless they were a shield for her from the fire. Meaning that if they die before her, there's no woman that three of her children will die before her, in some narrations before the age of puberty, right? Unless they become a shield for her from the hellfire. Which shows the virtues of what? The virtues of the death of the children, if it's by the qadr of Allah, because this is, the virtue of being patient. If something happens to them, you're patient. And the virtue of having children, this is a great cause. The greed of the human beings, when they would say, no, we don't want to have children so that we can enjoy our life, so that we can travel over the earth, so that we can do this and do that. This is the greediness of the human beings. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, تناكحوا تناسلوا فإني مباهٍ بكم الأمم يوم القيامة. He said, get married, have a lot of children, I'll be proud of you in the day of judgment. Right? This is a good thing. To fulfill the wish of the Prophet ﷺ is a good thing. To be patient with the burden of this is the qadr of Allah. Be patient. And guidance is in the hands of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Right? And when people put their opinion, right? But I won't be able to raise them. I don't have enough money. This can actually attack one's aqidah and one's creed. Right? If the reason that a person doesn't want to have a lot of children is because of financial reasons, this is a major problem. This is a disease in the heart that the person needs to cure himself. Because the Razzaq, the provider, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a person would say, but we have to take the means. The means is to have children. This is the means of rizq. Because anybody that is created, he comes with his rizq. He comes with his provisions. You are not the provider. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the provider. You have to work harder. Sure, what's wrong with that? Work harder. Seek means. Don't be dependent on others. Yes, take the means and work hard and seek provisions from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But definitely if the person has the means, this is definitely a good thing. And one of which, as we mentioned before, one of the things or one of the virtues of that is if some of them die during your lifetime, this can be the need for you, for them to enter Jannah and for you to enter Jannah. What's the value of life? When we think of the death of our own children, this is something that is very devastating, of course, right? But when you think that everybody will die, doesn't matter who died first, everybody shall return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when people come in the day of judgment, right, and they were rewarded as a result of their patience, they will wish that they had more, right? Because it's all by the mercy of Allah. And when the matter is so clear like this, they will be a shield for you from the hellfire. In other narrations, they will take you with your hand to the Jannah, and they would refuse to enter Jannah till their parents enter with them. So this is what the Prophet ﷺ said to the women. فَقَالَتِ امْرَأَةٌ مِّنْهُنَّ. A woman from among them, she said, Ya Rasulullah, اثنين. O Messenger of Allah, two? Can two also be the same? She said, فَأَعْدَتْهَا مَرَّتَيْنِ. She repeated it twice. ثُمَّ قال, وَاثْنَيْنِ وَاثْنَيْنِ وَاثْنَيْنِ. And two, and two, and two. Right? Prophet ﷺ pointed, right? it was said that this was a wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so it's not just 3, it's also 2. And some of the ulama say, of course, which is based on other hadith, even if it's 1. And the woman is patient, and she's seeking rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This patient, right, is a great reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would bring them into Jannah by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the mercy of Allah. So the death of one's children, this is a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If it happens by the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it becomes a mean of the goodness. Right? And when we see, for example, 500 something children in Gaza, they have died recently. Right? Children, they don't even know why they were killed. A child, why would, those who died instantly, those who died after some time, they cannot comprehend why this is happening to them. Right? And this woman that she said, if they kill our children, we'll make more. Right? This is how dedicated these people are. And it's for them, it's mercy. For their parents, it's mercy. And it's misery for their enemies. Right? And it's not something that brings happiness in the heart of a Muslim. Nobody will ever say that. And when a person loses his children, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of our children, he should not be happy and says, Alhamdulillah, hey, they're going to Jannah. This is against human nature. Prophet ﷺ wept when his son died. Right? This is where the rida, being pleased with the qadr of Allah, and being patient, it's something in the heart, but there's nothing wrong with having grief and having sadness, and a person is rewarded with that. A human being definitely pushes that away from oneself, right? But the real thing, when we think about it, with the real iman, people should give condolences to one another, as the Imam of this deen and the early generations of Islam used to say. When a person misses the salat or misses takbiratul ihram, this is where a person should be condolences. We feel so bad for you that you missed Salatul Asr today. More than they would feel bad for him that he lost his child or lost a loved one. Losing a loved one, if he's patient, they all enter Jannah by the way of Allah. But losing a good deed, how can that be made up? When life is very short and it's very precious. So putting things in perspective, definitely this is an important thing. But the point of the hadith is the Prophet ﷺ is teaching them from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught him. And that's why we should look into the people of knowledge from that perspective. The alim or the person of knowledge should also teach from that perspective. He should not always say things. He should always refer it to the people of knowledge. So that people will respect the people of knowledge, and so that people do not think that it's him. He did not come up with these things on his own. Right? But then people become so amazed by the speaker. He's such a great speaker. Where he just because he's smart, he's saying these things? No, if it's something of the deen, he got it from the people of knowledge. And that's why we should be attached to the knowledge, not necessarily to the people. Right? And that's why many of the ulama, they would give their durus always from the books. And this is for a great wisdom. Although they can close the book and they can talk, and this is more appealing to the people sometimes, right? But for people to be attached to the book, not to the alim. If the alim dies, then that's it, the matter is over. No, it's the ilm that's behind the alim, is the knowledge of the deen of Islam, is the concern to learn the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that we hold fast to it. And one last chapter, inshallah ta'ala, tonight. He says, باب قول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تزال طائفة من أمتي ظاهرين على الحق يقول وهم أهل العلم. The chapter of the statement of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تزال طائفة من أمتي. لا تزال means what? There will be always, something that is continuous. طائفة من أمتي, a group of my ummah ظاهرين على الحق. ظاهرين, الظاهر, الشيء الظاهر is the thing that you can see, the apparent thing, the thing that is clear. So they are ظاهرين على الحق, they are clear, steadfast on the truth. The matter is not ambiguous to them. It's not hidden to them. They are on the truth and they are firm on the truth. So the Prophet ﷺ saying there will be always a group of my ummah on the truth. Means what? Means at the worst times ever, right? When Muslims are weak and away from the deen and sins and all kinds of things like this, it's not like the nations before, where the matter is finished and and distorted and altered, that they can't go back to the truth that was at the time of whatever prophet there is before the Prophet ﷺ. No, this ummah is different. The religion will be still strong. Some group of people, even at the worst of the times, they will be on the deen it was at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, till Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by His will, the ummah is revived again. Right? And that's why the khair, the goodness, will still be on the ummah. So no matter what they do, people need to relax. Not relax actions, but they need not to be terrified inside. No matter what people do to uproot the deen of Islam, this is all in vain. They can never do it. They can never do it. Muslims can get weak, yes, but the deen of Islam would never die. This is the superiority of it till the day of judgment. So they spend their money, their wealth, they plot evil plots. It would never avail them, it would never benefit them. They gain some time, this and that to the Muslims, but the deen of Islam, they would never do to it what they did to the previous ways of lives and religions and so on. And one of which is this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved this religion. And it shows that we need to make sure that we are among these people. These people are not something that a person would say, I'm among the people that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned. We're not supposed to praise one another. And it's not a group with a name or names, or it's anyone that follows the way that was at the time of the Prophet ﷺ without changing anything in the deen. Without changing the deen, the same deen that was present at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, this is the same deen with all of its details that they are holding fast to the best of their ability. Even if it's one person in a locality, he is this life. And Imam Bukhari said, وَهُمْ أَهْلُ الْعِلْمِ. They are the people of knowledge. If it's not the people of knowledge, who else? Right? But again, the word people of knowledge has been distorted so much, so we have to make sure also that we know what is the meaning of the people of knowledge, those who have the knowledge and they are firm on the way of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He mentioned two hadith there. قال حدثنا عبيد الله بن موسى عن إسماعيل عن قيس عن المغيرة بن شعبة عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا تزال طائفة من أمتي ظاهرين حتى يأتيهم أمر الله وهم ظاهرون. There will be always a group of my ummah ظاهرين, very clear, they are very steadfast. حتى يأتيهم أمر الله, till the matter of Allah comes to them, وهم ظاهرون, while they are clear on the truth. So they will continuously to be there. وقال حدثنا إسماعيل قال حدثنا ابن وهب عن يونس عن ابن شهاب قال أخبرني حميد قال سمعت معاوية ابن أبي سفيان يخطب. He was giving خطبة رضي الله عنه. قال سمعت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. I heard the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم saying, يقول من يريد الله به خيرا يفقهه في الدين. And we mentioned that before in the book of Ilm. Whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends or wants good for, He would make him يفقهه from fiqh. He would make him comprehend and understand the deen. يفقهه means يفهم, for him to comprehend, to understand the deen, because the fahm, the understanding is very important. Knowledge without fahm, without understanding, it's no knowledge. It's not another version of a book. It's understanding the book, understanding the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for, He will make him comprehend and have the knowledge of the deen. يقول وإنما أنا قاسم ويعطي الله. The Prophet ﷺ saying, I'm nothing but a qasim. Qasim means I'm a distributor. I distribute, meaning He's conveying the message only. ويعطي الله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that gives. Then He said, وَلَنْ يَزَالَ أَمْرُ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ مُسْتَقِيمًا حَتَّى تَقُومَ السَّاعَةِ أَوْ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ أَمْرُ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. He said, and the matter of this ummah will be always mustaqiman, on the straight path, till the hour is established, or till the matter of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes. So the matter of the ummah in general, not every single person in the ummah, that means the deen of Islam, which explained by the other hadith, that at least a group of the ummah, at certain times they will be on the truth, nothing whatsoever would harm them with matters of the deen, till the day of judgment, till Isa alayhi salam comes down, and this is all by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to show the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's one last thing, real quick, 5 minutes, inshallah. Or should we start?
Go ahead.
باب في قول الله تعالى أو يلبسكم شيعا. The chapter is in the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala أو يلبسكم شيعا. The ayah which is in Surah Al-An'am, as he says حدثنا علي بن عبد الله قال حدثنا سفيان قال عمرو قال سمعت جابر بن عبد الله رضي الله عنهما يقول لما نزل على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, when it came down unto the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم the ayah قل هو القادر على أن يبعث عليكم عذابا من فوقكم أو من تحت أرجلكم أو يلبسكم شيعا ويذيق بعضكم بأس بعض. This ayah means, say, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Qadir, is the one that is able, that He will send on you عذابا من فوقكم, a punishment from above you, or from underneath your legs, or يلبسكم شيعا. يلبسكم is when you wear a garment. Shia, groups, that He would make you like this, against each other, groups, killing each other, fighting with each other, that the matter becomes so mixed. Like when you wear a garment within a garment, the matter becomes so confused. وَيُذِيقَ بَعْضَكُمْ بَأْسَ بَعْضٍ, and He would make you taste the punishment from one another, by killing each other, by fighting with each other, by attacking one another. This is what it means. So when the ayah was revealed, and it was قُلْ هُوَ الْقَادِرُ عَلَى أَن يَبْعَثَ عَلَيْكُمْ عَذَابًا مِنْ فَوْقِكُم, He is the one that is able of sending a punishment on you from the top of you. The Prophet ﷺ said, أَعُوذُ بِوَجْهِكَ, I seek refuge in your face. You're seeking refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this is not from my ummah, that the punishment comes from the top, like the nations before. That means the ummah will be destroyed. So Allah accepted this from the Prophet ﷺ. There is no punishment will come onto the ummah from the top that wipes the ummah. أَوْ مِنْ تَحْتِ أَرْجُلِكُمْ, or from underneath your legs. So the Prophet ﷺ said, أَعُوذُ بِوَجْهِكَ, I seek refuge in your face, I seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from this, that a punishment will come to them from underneath them, like the people of Noah, that all of them will be destroyed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted from the Prophet ﷺ no punishment that would take the whole ummah. Then when it was revealed, أَوْ يَلْبِسَكُمْ شِيعًا وَيُذِيقَ بَعْضَكُمْ بَأْسَ بَعْضٍ, the last two, أَوْ يَلْبِسَكُمْ شِيعًا, that makes you groups and against one another and so on, and make you taste the punishment from one another. The Prophet ﷺ قال هَاتَانِ أَهْوَنْ أَوْ أَيْسَرْ, these two are lesser, they are easier than the first two. And this is what is present to this ummah as a punishment for this ummah in this life. Right? So the matter is so clear. So against one another, fighting with one another, slandering one another, as we don't need to explain that much, it's very obvious. This is the Prophet ﷺ أهون وأيسر. This is easier. We think of it as something bad, right? It's definitely something bad. But this is the punishment of this ummah in this life as a result of turning away from it. The punishment is not to come from the top to wipe them, because really when we look at the affairs of the ummah, we deserve something like this. We deserve, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful. So the punishment becomes what? These types of things. And this punishment is to expiate the sins. Right? So it's in another sense, if the ummah continues to be in the state of sin, this is the way to have the mercy on the ummah, that the sins are wiped by these things, by the fitan, by the tribulations, by the earthquakes, by these types of things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wipes the sins of the ummah. So when we see these affairs of the ummah because of the sins, in itself is a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, till the ummah come back to the deen of Allah strong. And for those who are still in the state of sins and so on, it's a way of expiation of the sins by the mercy of Allah. So looking at it from the good sense. And again, as the Prophet ﷺ said, this ummah is ummah marhuma. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not make the punishment for it in the hereafter. The punishment for this ummah is in this life. That's why it's the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this ummah. What is the punishment in this life? Earthquakes, fitan, killing, and so on. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us steadfast on the deen of Islam and to accept our repentance and to forgive us. One question is